Okay. As you can see, I'm doing a vampire Batman thing here. Look at that. 11 by 17, so it's a big piece. This vampire Batman with the heads of his greatest enemies. Joker, Penguin, Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, and Scarecrow. So that's what I'm doing tonight. And I think I'll just do half tonight, and then the other half later. So.
There are many mysterious and terror-filled events that have come out of Chinatown, and the story that you're about to see is one of the most diabolical plots ever to come to our attention. It is the story of one woman, so sadistic in mind and nature, that the very mention of her name brought fear and terror to all who dared to...
And I'm watching
her name was Olga,
White Slaves of Chinatown, which is this old
this woman possessed a mind
exploitation film from the 60s.
She made sadism a full-time business.
So, what's going on?
Released from women's prison in New York. And as usual, Olga would meet her victim, and the entire incredible and insane cycle would again begin. Olga's many contacts range from the lowly street bum to the many high officials in government. These contacts kept her informed as to the release dates of prisoners from the various institutions throughout the country. Olga's house and headquarters were situated in the heart of Chinatown. From the outside, it looked very much like the other business establishments. But behind those doors and beneath the street level lay years of planning and the creation of torture chambers and special rooms that were designed to destroy the minds and wills of its most determined captives. After several days of top syndicate meetings, Olga returned to her headquarters to see what progress was being made on her captives and to take a personal hand in speeding up things to her own satisfaction. One of her earlier pupils, Frenchie, was slowly being taught that to refuse Olga in the smallest degree was to play with and lose one's own soul. Frenchie's only crime was that she arrived in the United States. She's the daughter of a high-placed official in the French government. Olga realized that Frenchie would be a great asset to her in her business because of her father's contacts. Olga was now beginning to convert Frenchie from a society girl to a high-class prostitute and narcotics pusher.
See how I see on the screen. Side.
Olga had many such torture chambers, and many of them housed her victims. Once a day for the past 2 weeks, Olga would check her prey. Her prisoners were in various states of being brainwashed. Lotus Wong's crime was that she accidentally discovered the secrets of Olga's house. And now she was slowly being broken down, mentally and physically.
What am I working on?
Too would turn to prostitution, if only to escape the prison, to get some water, to eat food again.
Let's see this here. Yep, Batman. Vampire Batman. Seen that there. There's the head of the Joker. And then Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, Penguin, and Scarecrow. Their heads are right there. So. I'm just gonna do half this tonight. Let's do like this half, the top half tonight. Then I'll come back probably next week and do the other. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I got all three of those. I got Red Rain, Bloodstorm, and Crimson Mist. Yeah, I got all three of those.
Olga tortured her prisoners for the sheer pleasure it brought her, the great satisfaction it meant to be able to bend one's will to hers. Each torture device was created to do a specific job, and they all did their duty well. This, the creation of a warped mind for well. After being shackled
that was
for a few days, his prisoner would beg for mercy and pray to be killed.
Reading those kind of introduced me to the artist Kelly Jones. I had no idea who he was before that. I remember seeing those
Lola had tasted prison life and wanted no part of this again. She thought she was strong enough to fight the disease.
Oh yeah, you can find those bloods. Yeah, the first one was Red Rain. The second one was Bloodstorm, and the third was Crimson Mist. They made a trilogy of those things. I'm surprised they never try to reboot it in any way. Try to do a fourth. Given how Batman is such a popular character. And his comics are pretty much the only comics that sell at DC. I'm surprised they've never considered ever doing a fourth vampire book. But they've done other ones, but not vampire Batman. They did other like horror-based stories, like Haunted Gotham, done by the same artist, and I think the same writer too. But I got that one too, and that one's still different. He's more of a the what you would know him as being, but it's more horror themed. His origin is different too. It's an Elseworld story, so.
Olga's strength lay in the fact that the syndicate was backing her with all the muscle that she would ever need to keep her slaves in.
Yeah.
Colin and Olga had never been able to see eye to eye on
I've always liked the concept of him being a vampire.
For the selling of heroin and prostitution.
Criminals already see him as a supernatural creature to begin with. And I guess that was the aim from the start for him. He was he would dress up as a bat, as a giant bat creature. And that was the point. I think they kind of, like in the 70s, they played with the idea of him getting involved with more horror-themed stuff. And they introduced oh yeah, an animated film. Like an adult animated film. Oh, it'd probably be better. Probably be a even better horror, live-action horror movie. You could easily make one for, since horror movies are cheap, you could easily make Red Rain for maybe 30 million, maybe even less than that, because there's no, it's not really that it's not exactly a we would call a high-tech looking comic. It's very, it's drawn to look old-fashioned-y. From the Batmobile and to how Gotham's drawn. I mean, you could easily do it. So I'm surprised no one's ever tried, pitching an idea of that. But I guess they just, why not? And it doesn't have to be in the regular old continuity of the what they're trying to do with DC films now. You can make it a Elseworld story. You can cast different people as the cast someone, cast somebody else as Batman. And you say, this is Elseworlds, it's different, and it's its own thing, and it has nothing to do with what we're trying to do over here, so I mean, why not? Yeah, I wouldn't cast him in it though. I cast, yeah, that's what I mean. You can make something separate. You can say, Pattinson is this Batman here, but this Batman is here. And he's exclusive to this storyline. I mean, why not? I mean, the MCU already introduced the concept of multiverses, so why not for DC? And I think they already, when what's his name announced what he was gonna do. Yeah, Keaton's back though. Yeah, but that's just really to sell that movie. Because who's gonna want to see knowing that guy, that how Ezra Miller is. You gotta get people to see that movie. So, why not put a guy like that? It's kind of like what they did with what do you call that? Yeah. Well, I don't know. It depends on what he wants to do. It's kind of like what they did with what's that movie called? Was it No Way Home? When they brought the three Spider-Men back, the three Spider-Men together. Brought Tobey Maguire and the other dude, and they brought Willem Dafoe back as the Green Goblin, and it's that. What am I doing here? But who knows? Yeah, they'll probably make money because of him. Shit, I saw that trailer and it didn't start getting interesting until he showed up. And he said, "Yeah, I'm Batman." You know? Doesn't really hit you until you see him there in that costume. And that's probably what happened to a lot of people who saw that. I don't know if I just go see the movie because of him. It's like, okay, I'll sit through 40 minutes of this guy who we all know is a crackpot in real life, just so we can get to see Michael Keaton as Batman again.
It was not always necessary for Olga to be at her headquarters for business to be.
Yeah.
Girls would come and go, turning over monies that men paid them for their favors.
Shit.
And for the pot they sold.
Could you imagine? I just thought of this. If they, I don't know if he would have done it, but years ago, before they were trying to make Batman and like what we know as Batman, that one movie, they started putting it together like the mid '80s, and one of the guys they were really looking at was Bill Murray. Could you imagine if he was Batman and he was put in that part? So instead of Michael Keaton, we'd be getting Bill Murray. But him being so flitty as a person, I don't think he would come back. He'd do it just once, and he would again, that's the type of guy he is. We did come back for that Ghostbusters movie, but they probably paid him a bunch of money.
Old is far greater today and is growing rapidly. It is a disease. When it gets hold of someone, it seems next to impossible to shake the habit. In some cases, the use of the drug is kept secret until the victim of the habit has passed all advice or help. There is no cure.
What? A lot of the movies I'm not really into. The current movies that people watch now. I'll see what they look like for the trailers and stuff, but overall, I just won't bother watching them. I'm just not into them. Maybe if I was younger, if I was a kid, if I was a teenager maybe, or maybe a little younger, and I see that, I want to go see it, like the original Batman was. When you first see that trailer for that original movie, you just get all hopped up for it. But now, yeah, I'm more into subversive stuff. As you can probably hear over in the background. It's this, sleaze. And I really didn't get into that stuff until, not much older than, a teenager, really. Started watching these weirdo movies. Because I would, yeah, exploitation films. That's what I'm watching right now. I got a whole bunch of them. I find them more interesting than, it's like, and I'll kind of look at it like almost kind of like a supremacist almost. It's like, I know these movies exist and you don't. You're more worried about Marvel movies and shit, and I'm watching these. Well, yeah. Well, yeah, because, yeah. These things and, no, in the trailers that come with them. Like I've been playing for the... God, I don't know how many. And I just started playing those because, well, one, I like them. And I don't see anybody else doing streams like this, playing stuff like that.
Jimmy had been trying hard to get his prey Elaine to hook herself. Well, this would probably mean that he would get something more to his needs. Jimmy had become a mainliner, and pot held no more kicks for him.
Plus, I need something to, since I can't play, regular old music in the background, like the type of music I would want to listen to, because it's copywritten, and I don't want to get in trouble for that shit. So I just play a bunch of movie trailers, which are free, but then here's the thing, I'll upload these things onto YouTube later, and I'll check out, the status of these things, and I'll find out there's like a copyright infringement. Like, what? Like the last one I put up had like 4 of them on. 4 copyright notices. Like, what? One of them was for, Blood Feast. Had that, like, Blood Feast was copyright? What? It's nuts. But since I'm not monetized, it really doesn't matter. But if I were to get monetized, I would have to really watch it.
Jimmy had worked his way down to becoming a worthless parasite.
I'm like, what pen am I using?
Making any useful or fitting return. Jimmy would assist Olga in her dirty work and be rewarded when some innocent person like Elaine would suffer.
So, I think this movie, how long is this movie? This movie's like an hour and 9 minutes. So I'll probably be done by the time this movie ends. And I just decided to play this because I couldn't find any other, trailer comps to play. So I decided just to play this. I was gonna play the Corpse Grinders. Nah, I don't want to replay that. I'll play a movie I haven't seen in a while. Damn it. I gotta get these things in there.
Think twice of selling pot to young school children. Anything for the buck.
Yeah, I always remember to get this thing under the camera. Mess up.
These parties would always do something to Olga. They would awaken the passions in her, and it was during these parties that she would feel closest to her slaves. This time, she'd been thinking very much of Greta, hanging in the dungeon. Olga ordered her to be released.
I thought about coloring this, but I don't
She
know.
was cleaned and brought to her
I
room.
found a bunch of
Many thoughts ran through Olga's head that day. Her thoughts were now on Greta lying out
these old
before her.
watercolor inks I'd had for years, and I hadn't used them. A lot of them are dried out. I thought, I don't know, should I? You just have to reconstitute them, that's all. Use that and, you know, using the color it using watercolor. I don't know.
Orgies always have had an effect on me, even though I never participated physically. I would always be watching through special mirrors built for that purpose.
Olga talking now.
I would watch them smoking pot, relaxing and just lying about, enjoying every minute of it. I had watched Greta smoking pot. She looked so soft and beautiful, her innocent face reflecting youth that I wanted them.
What the hell? Goddamn little bug.
And now she lay here before me, beautiful and warm. 1,000 thoughts going through my head. And now I had her, and I knew that she would be mine. Her white body was so very soft and warm. Looking down at her, I knew that this is what I wanted, and that I would have her all to myself.
Looks like camera. Maybe the next stream I'll play Ilsa, She-Wolf for the SS.
Sometimes I wish that this could go on forever.
That's rough. That's a rough one.
It was impossible, and in a few hours it would all be over. Through all this, one thought kept disturbing me. Her name was Elaine. She wanted out. That was, of course,
Let's see
impossible.
here.
She had already set up to be let free. I knew I would have to do something.
Yeah, I'll start
about
doing him. I'll start doing the Joker
it.
now.
For now, my thoughts were forget it.
The next day, Olga had Elaine brought to the torture room and tied to a chair. This was the beginning of one of the most terror-filled 72 hours of a person's life. The tortures that Olga applied to break this young child of her will to fight are beyond the understanding of the normal mind. Olga had tortured and brainwashed others so many times that this was nothing new to her. She knew every trick and means of breaking the strongest of wills. She felt sure that Elaine's will was not that strong as to require much work in breaking.
This here.
Olga's orders were being carried out, and Elaine was being forced out of the torture dungeon by Vicky, one of Olga's subjects.
Please excuse me if I
This nature would be carried out by the muscle of the syndicate.
turn
But
this
since Vicky was pregnant and couldn't support her narcotic
page a
by
certain
prostitution,
angle,
she had to work for it the hard way, assisting Olga
because I know
with
it
her
looks all weird on screen. You can't really see it, but you know, I want the best line possible, so I have to. Turn the page constantly. Can't draw this thing, you know, right side up. Oh, good. I can't draw, you know, a regular old thing right side up. I don't know how some of these guys do it. So I have to because my hand only goes a certain direction. It's usually just, you know, left to right, this way, or this. So I have to, it's awkward for me to kind of doing lines the opposite way, so I have to keep flipping this thing so I can get the best line possible. And there's no rule saying you can't. So, just as long as I get to show you the result. I don't know, some guys could do that though. I'll watch other live streams like David Finch's live streams, or Ethan Van Sciver's, and they'll just do it right side. They'll just draw right side up. They won't turn their page. But yeah, that's them, I guess.
No slut was going to get the best of me. Not ever.
As a reward for helping Olga, Vicky was allowed one dose of heroin to fulfill her day's needs. Vicky was also preparing herself for an eventual abortion, thereby putting herself back into the business of prostitution.
This movie's got everything.
And for her
Heroin addiction and abortion. You think this movie was made in the 80s or... No, it's the 1960s. Oh, and you probably noticed that before I started tonight, I had done some inking beforehand, like hours beforehand. I can't help it. I always do the eyes, like this stuff. What did I do? I added the outside of her face earlier and some of his cape. I always do that because I just can't sit there and look. I just have to get my hands going. Oh, right. Oh wait, he has to do his eyebrows. Let me see here. Okay, let's see. Wait, okay. Just take notice on my hand isn't smearing in this pencil. If you're wondering, you know, you said, I think, what did you say? I think you said you didn't read any of the other, those Batman stories. Yeah, these guys show up later. Don't want to spoil anything, but I think, yeah, they pretty much all show up. Yeah, Joker shows up in the second book. And these guys, let me see. Yeah, these guys show up later in the third. Yeah, he does, and he's got a big part in it. She does, and Yeah, they all do. But he's got a big part in the third one. Him and Two-Face. I was gonna do Two-Face, but I don't want to spoil it for you. But I guess this is kind of a spoiler, I guess.
And Olga decided to take immediate steps before this got out of hand. Lola was first placed in the dungeon, where she remained for several days.
Is that smudge? What the hell?
Olga, still not satisfied
Yeah.
with Lola's progress, decided to try one
Spoilers,
more.
haha, yeah.
Olga felt that
Yeah, I'm not much fun for spoilers either. I could give a shit. Actually make me want to read it even more, or see the movie even more. Oh really, that happens? I gotta see that.
She would learn obedience now.
Oh, I'll probably get a copyright for this. The music they use. Or maybe I won't, since it's canned. I'm surprised I haven't gotten a copyright strike from Twitch, but I've gotten them from YouTube.
This is the main torture room. And Elaine,
I guess it only works if
now strapped to the table and the Chinese
you show stuff. You show movies or something. Or...
Olga fears that Frenchie might begin to have different ideas about her and her setup. And Olga feels that if she watched this and wouldn't be too anxious,
I don't know.
that it would be better to play ball. That it would be better to play ball and stay alive and in one piece.
Sometimes these movies would use canned music, and it's stuff that you have heard before. I guess they would buy them.
Who the hell does she think she is? I never thought that I would enjoy beating anyone as much as I did until I started beating this one. She'll do what I say and do what I want.
That was common practice for movies back then.
Never again. For anyone.
They buy catalogs of music and they just throw them in wherever. Especially, you know, low-budget films. If you know low-budget movies, you'll like, oh, they used. I remember seeing that one movie and they used the same, yeah, soundtrack. Like Night of the Living Dead has a bunch of canned music. And yeah. John Waters movies had a bunch of canned music in it too. Well, not really canned music, he just used the music from his record collection and just stuck it in.
Yes. Why not? Why shouldn't I test that? See if she really is mine. Body and soul.
Can't remember all the movies.
The day had arrived when Olga would make her monthly report to the syndicate regarding her girls and their progress, and also to purchase some much-needed heroin and pot.
The Italian horror movies, like in the 70s, would reuse music from other movies.
These persons would need some severe disciplinary measures.
I guess it was canned, but I don't know.
Olga paid plenty for her share of heroin and pot, and in turn, those slaves paid even heavier prices. As the meeting came to a close, Olga had some urgent business to discuss with the doc, as he was known to the syndicate. The doc was a character who lost his license on the grounds of malpractice, had caused the death of one of his patients, although this was never proven at the trial. One of the girls, Vicky, was pregnant, and an abortion was required.
Oh.
The doc was contracted to perform this operation, and now just a few simple details had to be worked out. That afternoon, the abortion was in progress. As always, the doc worked in his usual filthy manner, assisted by one of the syndicate muscle men.
Okay. Just looking at that.
To the doc, this
All
was
right.
a human being.
I'll see you
It was
around.
just another job with a price
Thanks.
tag on it, whether it lived or died.
I think I might need to get another pen. This pen's feeling rough. It still works, but I haven't changed this thing in a while. That's the thing, I can just use these pens for a long time. I guess I'll stop using it when it just finally dries out.
Vicky did not survive the operation. Chalk up another one for this filthy old butcher.
What do you expect? Well, he's cheap. He's available. Jesus Christ. That's what you get when you're dealing with the underworld, yeah?
Tired both physically and mentally. I felt uneasy about something. Could it have been the abortion? No. I doubt it. I've seen others die before. Why should I feel this way? Maybe being around all these women for so long has done it. That's it. I want a man. Want a man. I need a man. I could have any man that I want. Got a good firm body. Just what men like. And I know that I could please them. I know exactly what they need. They want. Because United, real love solve all my problems.
What am I doing here? See what that looks like. I'm gonna do this.
Yes, united, real love solve all my problems.
Love, or the lack of love, wasn't the only thing bothering Olga. Jackie, an airline hostess whose travels took her to Europe once a week, was causing her much trouble. Jackie's job was to smuggle narcotics in and out of this country and turn over the money to Olga, who in turn handed it over to the syndicate. Lately, a shortage of money, approximately $100,000, was discovered by the syndicate, and they were holding Olga responsible. Olga traced the cause of the shortage to Jackie, and now the truth would come out. Why did she steal the money, and where was it now? Olga had to have this shortage made up. The syndicate would not have it any other way. And now they were going to get rough with her, and she knew only too well what that meant.
Damn. Okay. Yes.
You little bitch, where is the money? Tell me and we'll call the whole thing even. You know you're going to tell me, so let's not make it hard on both of us. This is your last chance. Where is the money? Two-bit whore. I'll teach you to keep your mouth shut with me. I'll show you what they do with tramps like you.
Jackie proved to be a much tougher person for Olga than she had realized. Since the cigarette burning didn't work, another method had to be tried. This time, Jackie was pushed into a large room. This was a surprise to her because it was not like Olga to treat her captives with a gentle hand, especially when you had something of hers. Olga was a shrewd captor, and you dared not put anything past her. She thought that by showing a little kindness, Jackie might have a change of heart and reveal the hiding place of the money. At first, Jackie resented Olga and her advances. This infuriated Olga and reverted her back to her old sadistic self once more.
Let's see here.
Olga knew that she had won this cat and mouse game, and once again Jackie was hers. Hers to do with what she wanted. Hers.
Alright, I'll be right back.
Soul. And Olga stood there. While all this was going on, upstairs Lotus, who had become sorry for Elaine, had decided to release her from the dungeon and help her escape.
Okay. Keep going.
Fear gripped Lotus as she began untying Elaine's hands and feet. Fear that she might be discovered by Olga, and that then only a merciful God could free her from the sadistic clutches of Olga and her henchmen. Suddenly, she thought she heard someone coming down the stairs and paused. Not hearing any other sounds, she continued to untie Elaine. Finally, fear overtook her, and she could no longer continue. Now Elaine was on her own, still with hands tied. She had to untie herself. She just had to.
Whoops.
Not able to untie herself, she decided to make her escape the best way she could. Maybe she could get help. The staircase, that's it. The staircase. Then at least she'd be upstairs and some light. Once upstairs, Elaine found herself in a large room with a table and chairs. Thoroughly exhausted, she sat down and tried to untie her bonds. Elaine thought she heard something. Yes, it's her friend Jimmy. He would help. But no, he doesn't look the same. Something has happened to him. Please, Jimmy. Please help me, she cried. No, Jimmy. No, don't. You don't know what you're doing. God help me. Yes, Jimmy has other ideas, and those ideas are for him to help himself. After Jimmy's appetite was satisfied, he threw her over to Olga, weak and full of disgust and hatred after her ordeal. She crawls to Olga, pleads for help. Elaine decides that she's better off doing Olga's bidding and receiving protection rather than fighting for her womanhood and maybe for her very soul.
Even this stubborn and proud girl had to come around to my way of thinking sooner or later. Now I knew that I had won. She was mine. Truly mine.
During the days that passed, Elaine worked out well into the routine of prostitution and the pushing of narcotics. Olga was very pleased, and in particular the syndicate was pleased. The vice of opium smoking, which is more injurious than opium eating, is spreading. Now opium can be found in almost any city. Bear in mind the deadly properties of this drug. A dose of a few grains will kill. At a half-grain dose, once a day, continuously for 6 months, will degrade a victim to the level of a beast. It brings hell on earth. In addition, opium makes the victim a criminal in his quest for monies to pay for the hunger. There were still a few things that Elaine had to learn about the art of soliciting, and for that, Elaine was always accompanied by Lola. But the syndicate felt that the way Elaine was catching on, it wouldn't be long before she was moved into a position of higher responsibility and finer rewards. Today is the day that the girls line up for their pictures. Then both they and the pictures are shipped to wherever they are needed throughout the country. Most of these girls will go to cities and resorts where the rich and the elite from governments both domestic and foreign meet for relaxation and to spend money. Greta, this lovely, statuesque beauty has the face of a baby doll, and a heart as cold and hard as her master Olga. This girl knows her duties well. Frenchie, yes, she finds it easy and relaxing in the social and diplomatic circles, having her father as a member of both. Elaine, the girl who fought off Olga with all her strength, has now become Olga's protege in mind and soul. This girl is well trained and very dangerous. Lola, the young prisoner who was freed from prison and then imprisoned by Olga. Now both her mind and body belong to Olga. And the master herself, in all her glory, watches over her prey.
It took many long and hard weeks, and in some cases months, to convert these girls. But it was worth it. Makes me feel strong inside to see these girls bowing to me. To know that they are mine, and mine to do with what I want.
Okay.
I wonder what the next group will be like. No matter. They will also be mine. In time. In time.
The story you have seen is not necessarily a story of Chinatown. It can be a story of any town in the United States if certain conditions are allowed to thrive. It is up to us as citizens and responsible Americans to see that this does not happen here, for our sake, our children's sake, and for our country's sake.
Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty much over. Yep, the end. There it is. Hold on, let me see. Uh, mm, shite. Let's see. Let's play this. I'm now watching the Day of the Dead Japanese trailer.
Hello, young lovers, whoever you are.
What's this?
We're glad the love bug caught up with you,
Oh, jeez.
but we must insist that you do not allow his bite to affect your conduct while in this theater. Public demonstration of affection will not be tolerated. Enough said?
Okay. Crap. Jesus Christ. Let's play. Guess we can play. Guess we can just Doomcock. Let's go through this stupid ad first.
The great character reveals of all time in a film. Same thing with Casablanca. I love the reveal of Rick Blaine in Casablanca. Where you just see him, from the shoulders down. He's playing chess at a table, drinking his bourbon, smoking a cigarette. Somebody brings him a check to sign. He says, "Okay, Rick." Hands it back, kind of taps the chess piece. Then raises his cigarette, and then we tilt up to the face, and there you see Bogart looking hard bitten, every bit that character. And in this movie, we don't see James Bond up until that beautiful woman in the red dress over there says, "I admire your luck, mister," and he goes, "Bond, James Bond." Look at that look on his face. Any doubt that this guy is a badass? This guy, Sean fucking Connery, man, he is Bond. And I just think he was, he's the idol of my dad, He's one of my idols. It's just one of those wonderful masculine things that fathers can hand down to sons. He was always taping, James Bond movies off the TV and, playing soundtracks and stuff. And I grew up to really love James Bond even before, I knew anything about Ian Fleming or anything. I just think that this thing is damn near perfect. Other than the giant, the giant, the giant vents in the cell that Dr. No throws James Bond into. I mean, it's not even like a half, big vent like they did with Kirk in Dagger of the Mind down on the Tantalus. I mean, this thing is, you could drive a golf cart through this thing. James Bond uses it to escape. Who never saw that coming? I don't know. But yeah, I don't know, but this is a great movie, and Gary pulled these wonderful stills for us, even though I volunteered to do it. I really appreciate it, Gary. Do you have anything to say about Doctor No?
I do. I do. First off, before I get to my notes, I will recall an issue of Maxim magazine when I was a young man reading this, and I will caution you, Dean Scott, when I quote this magazine and I say one of the rules of this magazine is never, ever, ever let a man insult a James Bond film in front of another man, unless it's never to never again.
But
So
I
take
even
it
like
easy.
that one.
Take it easy on the vent being too large, man, because that could be borderline considered an insult.
Okay.
Let's
all
take
right.
it easy. Let's take it easy. Anyway, let's get to my notes here. Dr. No, based on the adventures of British Secret Service agent James Bond, also known as 007, the creation of author Ian Fleming. Fleming's first 007 novel, Casino Royale, was published in 1953 with moderate success, including episodic novels and a comic strip. It was in 1960 when the author met with then U.S. Senator John F. Kennedy to discuss the possible overthrow of Fidel Castro that the books got a boost in popularity. During his presidency, JFK stated publicly that he was a huge fan of the novel. This brought attention of the possible franchise to American producers Albert R. Broccoli and Irvin Allen. After a disastrous meeting with the producers and Fleming, during which Allen told the author his books were not even good enough for TV.
Oh God.
The movie rights would remain untapped until a year later. Producer Harry Saltzman paid Fleming $50,000 for a 6-month option on the James Bond franchise. A handshake deal, no signed contract, were finally made for 007 at United Artists with Saltzman and Broccoli. Seeing that it was the simplest story to bring to the big screen, the Dr. No novel was chosen as the first 007 feature film. Actors Richard Johnson and Roger Moore were originally considered for the role of 007, and also Cary Grant, who was the best man at producer Broccoli's wedding.
Wow.
Roger Moore was tied up in TV, and Grant refused to sign for more than one film. It was the producer of a film called On the Fiddle by the name of Ben Fish that suggested that one of that film's actors would make a terrific 007. That actor was Sean Connery. Broccoli requested to see his latest film, Darby O'Gill and the Little People, and afterward was completely sold on Connery. United Artists was reluctant to cast an unknown in the role. However, they allowed the casting choice. Connery's mix of good looks, charm, wit, humor, and cold-blooded killer instinct have secured him in history as not only the greatest 007 ever, but as one of the most cherished actors of all time.
Amen.
Both Connery and the producers, thank you, I thought long and hard about that. Both Connery and the producers of Dr. No credit Terrence Young in creating the look, feel, and style of James Bond in every aspect, including the downplaying or throwing away of the now famous 007 death quip. You know, like, I think they were on their way to a funeral. That kind of shit, you know.
Right.
Just throw it away. That was Tarantino.
What happened to Benny? I let him go.
Right? Bernard Lee and Lois Maxwell are cast as the recurring characters of M and Miss Moneypenny. Canadian actress Lois Maxwell's husband had suffered a massive heart attack, and the couple needed income, hence her accepting the very secure role should the film be a success.
Well done. Yeah.
Worked out in her favor. Yeah. 2 weeks before shooting, the role of Honey Rider had yet to be cast. It was then that the producer saw a photo of John Derrick's wife, Ursula Andress. She was offered the role of the very first on-screen Bond girl immediately and was sent the script. Ursula read the script aloud with friend and actor Kirk Douglas, who suggested to her that she absolutely had to accept the role because it was so much fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, oh yeah. During shooting her introductory scene, Andress slipped and fell on a piece of coral and opened up one of her knees. Completely opened one up. Yeah. She told the crew to close it up, slap some makeup on it, and let's keep going. For those of you who have not sustained a seaworthy injury in your body, it takes a long time to heal because of all the bacteria in the coral and the ocean water and stuff like that. It's very, very, very tough. Ian Fleming was so smitten by Andress's beauty and charm that he actually references the actress in his 007 novel, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Talk about meta.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Due to Andress' heavy accent, her dialogue was dubbed by actress Nikki Vandersbilt. I didn't know she was dubbed entirely. There it is, guys.
Yeah,
Wait, go
isn't
back.
that bizarre?
There you go. Look at that. Ooh. Remember when she came out of the water? My God.
Yeah.
That was literally the moment when my balls dropped. So, and my voice went suddenly to like this. Wow, that's a very pretty woman.
Totally does. Wow.
Yeah, completely dubbed. Isn't that amazing? I had no idea. Noel Coward was originally suggested by Ian Fleming to play Dr. No. Coward was offered the role, and his reply was just 3 words. No, no, no.
Well, okay.
Right? New York-based actor Joseph Wiseman was chosen to play the first on-screen Bond villain. His role was complicated by heavy makeup and metal gloves to simulate the character's prosthetic hand. Wiseman's performance as Dr. No became the basis for future Bond, exuding a calm and cold demeanor, yet being a gracious host. This became an often imitated and heavily parodied concept in films like the Austin Powers trilogy.
There he is. Yeah. I mean, so he really kind of pioneered that take.
Right. Again, all this kind of came from Terrence Young's direction, who Connery and all the crew members kind of say, you know, they were like, you know, he was the guy that originally said this is how it should be, and every other Bond kind of borrowed from him. Let's see. Production designer Ken Adams was tasked with finding the gorgeous locations in Jamaica, building what would become the first Bond villain lair, and the strange weapons vehicle of Dr. No's henchman, the flame-throwing armored dragon car.
Right.
These concepts would go on to become a staple in the 007 franchise, and Ken Adams would serve as designer for many of the Bond films after Dr. No, including the gigantic volcano rocket silo, He You Only Live Twice, and the submarine capturing tanker ship in The Spy Who Loved Me, which at the time was built inside the largest soundstage ever constructed, now called the 007 stage at Pinewood Studios in Ivor, England. At the time of the production, a painting, here we go, perfect. perfect time. A painting of the Duke of Wellington by famous artist Goya had been stolen. Writer Joanna Harwood added in the script that the painting was in fact sitting in Dr. No's lair amongst other famous antiquities and is noticed by 007. So at the time, I guess that painting had been stolen, and they just decided to throw it in there.
That's perfect.
As a gag, yeah. Pretty great.
I would have never known that because that's a topical thing of the time.
Yeah, that's why they made such a point of him kind of noticing it and stopping it at the staircase there. Producer Harry Saltzman brought British composer Monty Norman out to Jamaica during the 12-week shoot to begin work on his music for Dr. No. Norman worked with a local band called Byron Lee and the Dragoneers to create several hit tracks for the film. The band was the biggest musical group ever to come out of Jamaica. Norman's wife, Diana Copeland, provides the vocals for Underneath the Mango Tree on the soundtrack. Needing a theme for the film's opening title, Norman borrowed a piece of music from a score he wrote for a musical called A House for Mr. Biswas. Composer John Barry, who was brought on to arrange the borrowed piece into the super cool jazzy tune it became. Although the incredible composer John Barry would go on to score most of the 007 films, it is Monty Norman that is credited with writing one of the most iconic and influential themes in cinema history, the James Bond theme. So the James Bond theme has been borrowed from a musical that Monty Norman wrote. It's called A House for Mr. Biswas. And in some of the research material I was reviewing, he actually sings, and there are lyrics to this little piece of music. He took that, borrowed it, and he didn't really borrow it. He stole it from his own musical and interjected it into Dr. No, and that became the theme. It's pretty incredible. If you don't know that piece of history, that piece of musical history, I recommend you check that out.
Amazing.
The gun barrel sequence was the sole creation of title designer Maurice Binder, who would go on to design the opening titles of many of the 007 films. He used a pinhole camera to photograph the actual inside of a gun barrel and used the image in the now iconic sequence. So that's an actual picture of the inside of a gun barrel. It's not like drawn or anything. He got a little pinhole camera, stuck it in the gun barrel, photographed it, and that's what he used to compose that theme.
That's amazing.
Guys, everybody out there in the chat, all the wrenches, everybody watching, this is the epitome of toxic male just greatness. James Bond, the very first James Bond. The cool thing about watching this movie again was seeing where all of the cliches sort of were where they were born. You know, watching the first martini being made. Bond makes the first martini before he kills the double agent in the gal's apartment in Jamaica. You know, we see the first Bond girl, the first Bond villain. Everything was born out of this movie, and that's what's so cool about this movie. This movie has got such a great 60s kind of, you know, jazzy vibe to it. And, God, I love this movie. When I was a kid, I didn't really appreciate it. I appreciated the later Bond movies, but now, you know, later on, this movie is fantastic. That was a $100,000 set right there. That was the most expensive set in the movie, was the Dr. No's rocket toppling layer. And it was sort of again, these are kind of the birth of the parody of, you know, Austin Powers and Dr. Evil, you know, when he's in the inflatable suit, you know, and all of that comes from this film. And really, this movie is incredible from its amazingly exotic locations in Jamaica to its beautiful sets, which production designer Ken Adam was just left alone. Nobody bothered him, and he was designing and building all of these sets while the crew were shooting the movie in Jamaica. So they showed up back in the UK to shoot the rest of the film, and they showed up to all these sets already being built. So that just goes to show you what, you know, the kind of achievement you can make when you leave an artist to just do what he does. Also, a little interesting bit about this right here. Honey Rider's demise. Originally, there was supposed to be a scene where a whole bunch of crabs were supposed to be eating her alive. Well, the crew had bought a bunch of crabs, but they didn't realize that they purchased it from like a food dispensary, so they were all frozen. So they dumped a bunch of frozen crabs all around Ursula Andress, and it didn't really look right. So they said, let's just make it to where, maybe Dr. No's going to flood the whole room and drown her instead of the crabs, because
Let's
this
see.
isn't going to work.
I'm calling bullshit on that, because if there's anything that can bring something back to life, it's Ursula.
Okay.
Right? Ursula Andress getting crabs.
Yes. 100%.
Anyway, this is a spectacular film, and if any of you out there haven't seen it, which I
All right.
seriously doubt, my God,
We've
immediately
been at for
after
almost
this
90
show is
minutes
over,
now.
go and watch it.
So,
I'm glad you liked it this much, Jay.
Oh God, I love this fucking
Yeah, it's just great.
So that's it.
Really.
I said I was going to do half. I'll just
Any of the Connery Bonds,
give it like that
they-
for
they're
now.
up there on a different level. You know what I mean?
So anyway,
Yeah. He managed to be, sophisticated.
Crack my
without
knuckles.
being
Anyway.
fussy, very, very.
I'm done for tonight. So,
you could see,
I'll probably be back
hard ass.
maybe next week
Oh yeah, very cold.
to finish it.
There's a
So,
scene in this- there's a scene in this movie. I think I grabbed
anyway.
the screen cap there, but where he's shooting a double agent. He shoots
all my stuff's in the channel description and all that.
the Asian gal,
So.
and he shoots this guy. Right after he says, that's a Smith and Wesson, and you've had your fill. He shoots him. The guy falls on
That's
the
it.
ground, and he shoots
I'll
him
see
again
you
in the back.
Yeah.
next
I
week.
mean, that's